Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and let's check out another Cheaposaurus today as we have the other Happy Line dinosaur in their group, which is the Spinosaurus. And I will say the Spinosaurus looks better than the Rex did. Of course, again, nowhere near an accurate version of the dinosaur, but I really do actually like the coloration of it, and the sculpt, it doesn't look too bad, though it does follow in the same cheap look as the Tyrannosaurus did. The teeth look way worse on this Spinosaurus, though, than the teeth looked on the Rex, and the teeth on the Rex didn't look very good. But again, I bought these figures at Ollie's. I thought it looked kind of cool in the store, and I was kind of rushing through the store, just, grabbing anything I was interested in because I was kind of in a hurry. So I didn't really look too far into the figures. When I had seen them there, I saw they were $8.99 and just grabbed them. I thought, why not? They look all right. And I don't know if I'm regretting it quite yet because I still like them, kind of, because I'm a sucker for anything dinosaur related, and since they kind of have a sort of okay looking appearance from a distance, they're still sort of enjoyable to me. But the Rex was definitely a letdown in comparison to what I thought it would be, and far worse than I expected it to be. But as far as the box art goes, again, we have the same style box art as the Tyrannosaurus did, creepy eyes staring at us up here in the corner, and then Dino Mat, which yet again I don't understand what that means. And then on the back we have a look at the Rex and the Spinosaurus, again stating that it is light and sound, and yet another creepy eyeball in the bottom right hand corner this time. So let's go ahead, pop this out of the box, and check out the Spinosaurus. So here is our Happy Line Spinosaurus, and I don't know what it is with these figures. I just feel like they always look better in the box, and then when I get them out, they just, for some reason, just don't look as nice. I'm not sure why. This actually sports kind of a similar paint scheme to the Rex, where they've gone ahead and given it stripes down the course of the body, and then stripes down the thigh, but because they've blended the stripes so much nicer on this one, it looks way more natural and way more appealing than what we had seen on the Tyrannosaurus, where the Tyrannosaurus looked okay color-wise. It was a nice coloration, not so much the best application of the paint. This one I feel like has a much nicer and much more natural application of color here on this one, and honestly is a pretty nice coloration for what I would expect to see on a Spinosaurus. I would like to see coloration like this with like greens and browns and stuff, the type of color you would expect that would allow the Spinosaurus to sort of camouflage to its background when it were hunting for fish and stuff like that. So a coloration like this might be a natural choice for a Spinosaurus, and I always felt like greenish and brownish Spinos looked good, so they did do a good job as far as the colors that they've chosen. Obviously the sculpt doesn't look that great, but it kind of has a little bit of a JP3 type of a look to it, and I am a huge fan of Jurassic Park, yes, even Jurassic Park 3. So I do like the sculpt of it, even though it again has that same cheap, generic sort of scale detail like we saw in the Rex. It also has that very lightweight, cheap feel, but it doesn't feel as bad as the Rex did, so that's a plus as well. So let's go ahead, jump straight to a closer look at this right now. So starting with the head sculpt of our Spinosaurus, you can see straight away that it's really quite ugly. The scale detail is very large, kind of obnoxiously large, and incredibly generic looking. It doesn't look very highly detailed at all. The scale detail is fairly vibrant on the figure, but it just looks, again, about as cheap as it gets when it comes to scale detail for a dinosaur. Interestingly enough, though, this one is, I believe, a light and sound dinosaur as well, but has like red painted eyes and a red painted tongue. I don't think the other one had that. I think it had more of a translucent look for both, but I'll be intrigued to see what that light and sound feature is on this particular version. We do at least have some coloration variation to the face, and that we have like this really nice brown that goes above the eye. We have some variations of green here as you move down, a little bit of a, kind of a dark tone of green, and then a darker tone of green the closer you get to the mouth. And you see that same similar coloration for the lower jaw. The teeth are not very well done at all. The sculpt of the teeth looks terrible. All of the teeth are sculpted together, and the paintwork is absolutely awful. Like, it just looks so unreasonably bad as far as the coloration and paintwork of the teeth go. They are painted a really bright white, and considering this is just meant to be a toy for kids, I don't expect them to get a really nice realistic coloration. They're not like Mattel, where they're trying to please like collectors and kids alike, so the bright white, it's whatever, but the paintwork applied to it is just so bad, and it really makes the entire figure look even worse because of it. As you move back into the neck, though, you can see that we have, again, that same similar style of larger scales that you would see on like a Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus. They start to pick up. There's also some decent coloration to the top of the head, but you start to see again like ridges running down the spine and very large scales, almost armored-like scales running along the back of the neck. The scale detail here in the side of the neck, although you can see there's like many different varying sizes of scales, they just don't look very good. The underside, though, does look way nicer than what we'd seen on the Tyrannosaurus. The Tyrannosaurus was literally just creases, whereas this one does have some scale detail to it as well as creasing, and you can kind of make out the throat a little bit right there, and even a little bit of a skin wrinkle. So interesting that they've done a little bit of a better job on this Spinosaurus than the Rex. Honestly, in pretty much every aspect of the figure. As you move back here into the body, you can see the shoulder blade right there, a little bit elaborated from the skin. Moving down into the arm sculpt does actually look pretty nice. There's some fairly nice looking texturing to the arm. You can see some muscle definition. The elbow is present, and the hand also has some nice scoots down the course of the fingers. And the nails themselves, although not that great because you can see the undersides aren't painted, it definitely looks nicer than what we had seen on the Rex. That one nail in the middle there actually is painted all the way up onto the finger itself, but it still looks way nicer than what we had seen on the Rex, and they do have a nice glossy coloration for the paintwork of the nails on the hand. Moving back into the stomach, you can continue to see again that same generic style of scale detail, some osteoderms and stuff poking up here and there, but I do really quite like the coloration. Again, I like how there's different tones of greens and browns, like this really nice, very appealing looking lighter brown for the underside, and I like how it kind of creeps up here into the stomach, and then some of the green kind of surrounds it. It looks really quite nice, and we have some black stripes and stuff, which again blend nicely with the paintwork of the dinosaur and look way more natural than what we had seen on the Rex. You can see that the sail does look pretty cool. I like how it's kind of like an uneven type of an appearance to the sail, and there's a really nice, very appealing light brown in the mid area of the sail, and then it's kind of outlined with a black. And although it's probably yet again the most generic of sculpts when it comes to what a sail would look like as far as the detailing aspect goes, it does, again, from a distance, it looks pretty nice. If you move down here into the hip region, you can make out the hip bone a little bit, as well as a plethora of osteoderms and stuff right here at the top of the thigh. And then moving down into the thigh, you can see some muscle definition, some more of those stripes. You can see a little bit of muscle definition here to the calf, as well as the kneecap a little bit right there. Similar foot sculpt, though, to the Rex. Honestly, it looks like it's the exact same foot sculpt as what we had seen on the Rex, where the detailing, you can see there's like scoots down the toes, but the detailing is really quite muted. Doesn't look very good. But on the plus side, we do have painted nails on this one, whereas with the Rex, it was all painted one solid black. This time we have a brown with black nails, so it does look a little bit better. No dew claw or anything, which is not uncommon when it comes to dinosaur figures nowadays, but you can see that, again, the detailing of the tail has more of those kind of like osteoderms and stuff poking up, kind of some ridges running along the tail, a very crocodilian-like tail. As you lead out the length of the tail, you can see there's a pretty nice curve to the tail as well. Of course, the proportions of the dinosaur are not well done. The tail's too short, just like it was on the Rex, but it's honestly not that bad. The underside actually sports some okay detail as well. Again, as far as like the scale detail and stuff, it looks way nicer than what we had seen on the Rex. I've got to get these stupid stickers off on the undersides. Unfortunately, once you turn it around, again, we are completely littered with screw holes everywhere. At least they tried to blend this one up here on the snout in a little bit by painting it green, so there's a plus there, but a lot of the other ones are just super noticeable, super obnoxious looking. There's just too many. Again, I can deal with some screw holes from time to time, but there's just too many on this one. And another area here that's just like weird compartment area. I don't know why that's there. It was just on the Rex as well. As same thing on that one. We have the same thing here, but the figure as a whole looks pretty much the same over here on this side compared to what we had just seen on the previous side. The only real difference is the arms are in a slightly different position. The legs are in a different position as well as it's walking along, but a fairly generic looking Spinosaurus, but definitely better than the Rex was. Again, the figure does have articulation, but I'm not expecting much out of it due to how bad the articulation was on the Rex. We have the articulation in the jaw. Doesn't close all the way, but it does articulate. We have articulation in the arms, but that'll activate the action feature, so we're not going to move that. We can take note of the fact that both arms kind of move together. They don't move individually, which is a downside. And then the legs move a little bit more so than the Rex did, but still not too much. Definitely a little more, but not great. No tail articulation or anything as far as that goes. But let's go ahead and check out the light and sound feature of the dinosaur. So it is exactly the same as the Rex when it comes to both the light and sound. No difference at all. The eyes light up, the inside of the tongue lights up, and it makes the exact same kind of vintage dinosaur noise, which I do like the noise. I just don't like the figure all that much. I mean, it's not bad. This one's, well, it is bad, but this one's better than the Rex, so it's not the worst, but it's still not good. As far as a size goes, again, the figures are pretty sizable. And this is actually right around the same size, I think, as the Rex, although I don't really recall too well, but it's about 13¼ inches or around the 33½ centimeter range. The highest point is definitely the sail of the Spino. You are looking at about 7 inches or about 18 centimeters, pretty much on the dot. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Happy Line Spinosaurus, and you can see that this figure doesn't look very good, but at least it sports some okay size. It definitely has a fairly impressive size to it. You can see it's a little bit bigger than the Papo T-Rex there, so even though it's pretty much littered with downsides, it does at least have one kind of upside, and that would be the decent size. And then we have a battle for the ages, as we have the Happy Line Tyrannosaurus and Spinosaurus here kind of facing off with each other, giving you an idea of the size between the two and just how cheap and overall not that great they both are. Although again, if the Spino was turned around and we were looking at the side without the screw holes, from a distance they don't look that bad, but they certainly are two very, very cheap figures. So this Happy Line Spinosaurus is another disappointment when it comes to these Happy Line figures, and yet another not very good figure. Although it is better, in my opinion, than the Tyrannosaurus, it still by no means is even a good figure. The figure continues to have that really cheap scale detail where it just doesn't really look that great. Like, it looks better than it could probably. Like, I could definitely see it being worse than what it is, so it does have kind of an okay appearance as far as the detailing goes. And the scale detail honestly doesn't look all that bad throughout. It just doesn't look as good as it could. Like, it doesn't look highly detailed, it looks generic. That's the way I'll put it. The detailing isn't bad. The scale detail does look okay, but it looks generic. The paintwork of this one, though, is much nicer than the Tyrannosaurus, as we have quite a bit of different tones of color included, and it's all nicely blended together to look fairly natural on the figure. And I honestly do like the coloration, the tones that they've chosen, and the application of the paint. For being a cheap dinosaur figure, it doesn't look bad, and it actually looks kind of like the color I would expect to potentially see on a Spinosaurus in real life, so that is at least a plus. Of course, we have screw holes everywhere on the one side, and again, screw holes don't always bother me. I would obviously prefer my figure without screw holes, but this one just has so many that it's unavoidably ugly because of the screw holes. But when you look at the opposing side, it does look a little more appealing, but I feel like it looks even more appealing when you step away from the figure. You're not so close to realize how poor the detailing, kind of does look. It definitely looks nicer from a distance. The one area that I really don't like, though, is the mouth. The teeth look horrible. The paintwork of them is just really bad. The teeth don't look good sculpt-wise, and again, the paintwork even misses teeth and everything in certain areas, so that is really not good. The paint is sloppy pretty much everywhere as far as the nails and the eyes and stuff as well, so although some areas like the overall body look decent color-wise and paint-wise, the areas that actually take a little bit more care and precision don't look very good because they obviously don't care and didn't bother with precision. It does have articulation, but it's not very good. It does have a light and sound feature which will appeal to kids, and I do like the sound, but neither of which are my favorite thing in the world. Again, just like the Rex, probably the best area as far as the detailing and paintwork goes would be the arms, and the only other redeeming factor is that sound that it makes, having that kind of vintage dinosaur roar. So another cheap figure, another figure that I don't exactly recommend picking up, but at $8.99, it's not the worst thing in the world, I guess. So if you are interested, make sure you head to your local Ollies before they sell out of these figures, if they have them at all, because you really never can tell what Ollies will truly have. But again, if you can, check your local Ollies, maybe they'll have them. Maybe you'll be able to score yourself one. Who knows? If you miss out, it's not the end of the world, because trust me, you're not missing much. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.